It is the Blitz here on 1250 ESPN San Antonio, 94.5 FM. And if you're on the go, I highly recommend you go to ESPNSA.com. You can check out our YouTube feed. You'd see Jason Minnix up where Peter Brady would be, and down on the bottom left-hand side of our feed, I guess that's Marcia. Or Nick Mangold joining us here on ESPN San Antonio. Hey, Nick, man, welcome aboard, man. It's been over a year. It's been a long time coming, but we're glad to have you on. How's your life?
It's been way too long. You know, we missed our Super Bowl gathering, so I guess we'll have to do it virtual here.
Well, and we've got it virtual here, and what's cool with the video is I could see where you are. You still have snow on the ground. Thankfully, we had 2 weeks of miserable snow and ice, and it was a disaster in Texas for about a week. But at least it's gone. I mean, you're still dealing with snow. It's March.
Yeah, we're still here in it. I think the wind chill today, walking the kids to school, was about 10 degrees. So it's still pretty chilly, and that doesn't seem to be changing anytime soon.
So you walk the kids to school in 10 degrees? You can't just load them up in the car that's got heated seats?
No, you know, it builds character. No, we moved. It's almost been 3 years. And so we could be able to walk the kids to school. And so unless it's a full downpour, I make the trip up and down the hill. This year I'm making it 4 times. So it's fun. It's a good start for the kids and the way to get going in the morning, we believe.
You know, we had that kind of weather down here for a brief stint a couple of weeks ago, and we weren't prepared, and we'll never understand how you would force yourself to live in that kind of instance over and over again. It damn near killed us down here. It was as bad of an event as Texas has ever dealt with. We don't do cold very well at all. We don't know how to wrap pipes. That's a problem.
Yeah, I saw a fun meme. It was, "Don't mess with Texas unless you're 2 inches of snow."
Well, look, 2 inches of snow is devastating. I mean, it was a full-on blizzard down here. I mean, for you, it would have been, yeah, whatever. It's just, you know, it was all good until, now granted, I can't say much. I was stranded in Florida, couldn't get home for this. But it was all good until all the power and water went out. I mean, you know, when there was no power and no water, man, it's just miserable and life-threatening at that point, very serious.
Exactly, and I think that's where you know, when you don't deal with the issues of cold and you're not prepared for it, you know, we have that all the time. You know, people forget to turn off their water, forget to, you know, move the hoses out and everything. You burst a pipe, and it's devastating for the house. So for having one house in an area have to deal with that is always difficult. But then, you know, for what you guys had to go through down there, where everyone had to go through that. It just, I mean, it was ridiculous, and you know, but at the same time, how are you supposed to be? You're not supposed to expect that in Texas, right?
No, we're not supposed to. But you know, I guess it's a skill set that we need to have learned. Like now, we all know how much ice is required or snow is required to melt down to flush a toilet. San Antonians now know that.
I don't know that.
Well, you shouldn't have to. That's just it. You should never have to know, and we do.
Very disappointed to realize you can get one of those big buckets from like Lowe's or Home Depot, fill it with snow, and you might get a glass of water out of a full bucket of snow. There's very little water in a cooler full of snow. And if you've got a double flusher, you're screwed.
He is Nick Mangold, not a double flusher, maybe not. That's Jason Minnix here on ESPN San Antonio. Nick Mangold. I met Nick for the first time. I guess it's been 4 years ago. He was walking around Radio Row, fresh out of football, walking around with it's called a Burns-O-Matic. And Jason and I, everybody knows that we're down with the grilling, and we wanted to start talking about it, and a friendship ensued. Now, this was the beginning of what's become kind of a passion for you, Nick. I mean, not only did you start with the fire, and we all use these, talked about these many times, but you're expanding your reach in the barbecue world.
Yeah, and that's kind of the fun side of what I was, you know, why I think I took to the Burnzo people so easily is because it was already stuff that I was doing. And so to have them give me an opportunity to then play with fire even more so was extra exciting. But then, you know, that's just kind of evolved as I've been going through, because I've been doing barbecue for probably the past 8 years, 10 years, really got sucked into it. And just recently, about 2 years ago, we decided, it was like, you know what, I have my own barbecue sauce. I make it in my house. How can I bottle it and sell it? And so then it kind of took off from there. And unfortunately for us, we started the process in about April 2019. We got our first run of production March 13th, 2020. Right. Perfect. Right when everything was falling apart. And so, you know, it's been a tough year of trying to navigate a pandemic while also trying to sell a food item. But, you know, we've learned a lot along the way, and, you know, we've been able to spread out a little bit here in the New York area and get into actual stores. We have a pretty strong online presence, which is nice. That kind of helps. But, you know, what I really wanted to do when we were starting it and, you know, we had this line of production coming off, we had this huge planning meeting. I think it was like March 2nd. We're like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do all these tailgates. We're going to do these. We're going to show up at grocery stores, set up a folding table, and, you know, here, try the sauce. And we're going to do all this stuff. And then we did none of it. So it's been it's been a little difficult, but it's still kind of my passion project. I've had a lot of fun with it. It's completely me. It's not some company coming to me and saying, hey, can we slap your name on this and you know, sell it? You know, it's fully me and my partner. I made the recipe. I picked out the bottles, label design, logo design, all the stuff that goes into it. And I got to tell you, learning on the job of how intricate the sauce business has been a wild ride.
Well, all right. So, Nick, you've got your sauce as a visit with Nick Mangold, future Hall of Famer, New York Jets legend. You get your barbecue sauce, and you either people are going to order it, and they're going to order it because they know, all right, well, this is Nick Mangold. It's got to be good, right? Or you see all these different barbecue sauces when you're on the store shelves. What separates yours? As a guy, for me, I kind of really took to a lot of grilling during the pandemic and working from home. I'm grilling, you know, 4 or 5 nights a week at this point, and going through different rubs, going through different sauces, trying to figure out what I like, what I don't like, and what pairs well with whatever it is that's on my grill. What separates yours? What do you do to decide, all right, this is the sauce I'm going with for this particular cut of meat?
Yeah, so I think that's kind of where we've been struggling with with the pandemic side of it, is the fact that there is a name recognition a little bit, but there's also there's no good way to get that word out. You know, and I think the best way to do it is to host tailgates and to get people together so they can try it. You know, a lot of people aren't willing to venture out and try a new sauce. Especially one that they buy online because they have to pay for shipping, where they'd rather just, you know, pick something out at the store. And so dealing with that, like a lot of people have come up and said, oh, I had no idea that you even had a sauce. We tried it, you know, and we love it. I was like, well, you know, that's kind of where we're lacking a little bit. But that's kind of what we did with the label design. If you look at it, it's 74 BBQ and it's got a big old beard on it. That kind of stands out, and that was something to me, like if I was walking along the grocery aisle and I see the wall of sauce there, you know, what's going to pop? What's going to make it stand out? And if I saw a barbecue sauce that had a big old bushy beard on it, I'd be like, you know what? Maybe there's something to that one. And it actually happened to me because we're in a couple of local grocery stores, and I knew we had done the deal, and I just wasn't sure on their timing. Because I knew we got them the product. I just didn't know when they were putting it out. And so I'm walking through my local store, you know, just picking up stuff for dinner. And I'm walking along, and I always check the sauce aisle just for something new, something exciting. And bam, it hit me. You know, the 2 bottles were sitting right there, right on the shelf. I was like, well, that's pretty cool. I like that. That's neat.
I imagine it is for guys that like to grill.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is Nick Mangold's got his own barbecue sauce called Mango 74 Barbecue. There's a couple of different flavors. There's a sweet and heat. And there's one that's a little bit describe the differences, and which one did you come up first?
Yeah, so the first one, so we have the OG and we have the spicy OG. The OG is sweet with a little bit of heat, and that was my original one. That was the one that I tinkered with for I mean, I probably had to go through 40 different iterations of sauces to try to find this one, and it's the one that my wife and I fell in love with. And the next one is spicy OG, because I figure if you have an original, you should always have a spicy. So that's a little sweet with a whole lot of heat. And people always try to ask, what style is it? Is it Texas barbecue, Carolinas, Memphis, Tennessee? Like, what kind of region we're going for? And I always like to joke that it's a combination of all of the best of all the worlds. And so it's a New Jersey style BBQ. It's a brand new style.
I wouldn't
sure
use
if
that in
that's
your
gonna
promotional
sell
materials
well in
down
Texas.
Here. Yeah. I wouldn't put that on your label, saying it's the finest New Jersey has to offer down here. Now, it might play well up there. I'm not saying it wouldn't, but
I
down here.
did not put it on the label. But that was one of the things. Like, it's not. You can't, when you taste it, you can't say, "Oh, this tastes exactly like this region or this." Right. It's such a blend that is something I've never had before. Obviously, creating it myself, but it still has, like, I've never had this taste before, but I know it's barbecue, and that's kind of what excited me about it. And so the goal is, in this whole venture of mine, this passion project, is to have 4 sauces as part of my line, with each one representing one of my kids. So right now I have the OG, and that one represents my oldest, because he's the original. The spicy OG, because that's my second son. He's just a firecracker version of the first one. And right. So I have 2 daughters. I have sauces ready to go for them. So I need to keep selling sauce that we can end up putting these other 2 out, so I can complete the family of sauces.
Oh, that's fantastic!
And a nice little college fund.
Absolutely, and Nick, the cool thing that you're doing as well is a portion of everything you're selling is going to help a lot of people too, which is even cooler.
Yeah, that was a big part when we were doing this, and we were talking about it. It was kind of I've been with Answer the Call, the charity that we support for a long while. I've lent my ugly mug for different things for them. Silent auction stuff and whatnot. But now this gives me an opportunity. Obviously, I want to sell as much sauce as possible because I want to become the king of barbecue sauce. But I also want to sell as much sauce as possible because a little bit from each bottle goes to them. And so if I can write a big old check to them, that would make me feel pretty good.
74 barbecue is the word you need to recall. Go get yourself some great barbecue sauce, the OG, or you want a little heat and go that. Where does your heat come from? What kind of peppers are you using?
Ooh, I can't give out the secret ingredients here.
I tried.
I tried. You tried. That's very sneaky.
Come on, man.
Of you. You're lucky we're not in person.
It's just us, man. I mean.
Nobody's listening.
It's just like he's on the other side of the glass at a Rangers game, man.
Go to 74barbecue.com. Yeah, you can order it online. Go get it. As far as what you grill, when you think, I'm going to grill this Saturday, and certainly we like to rotate, but what's your go-to? What's the one out of the box that I got people coming, I'm going to impress? What do you do?
That for me, and I love it all, but it's got to be the pork butt. You smoke up a pork butt, pull that thing. When done perfectly, it's so juicy and tender and so flavorful. And it's so versatile too. That's what I love the most about it. You get yourself an 8-9 pound pork butt, you smoke that up, you have meals for the next 5 days, and they can all be something different. And so that's kind of where I am in helping out cooking with the family. The kids, if you try to do the same thing 4 days in a row, they get mad and yell at me. This way, you smoke a pork butt, you have pulled pork Saturday night, you have maybe tacos Sunday night, you switch that over and do like a fried rice on Monday night, and then you're back to pulled pork on Tuesday. Like it works so well.
It does. Nick Mangold, a former Jet star with us here on ESPN San Antonio, future Hall of Famer. Let's talk a little bit of football. Next week, it's going to be a rough week for a lot of players in the NFL when their contracts get when they get released. What's it like this part of the offseason for a player, especially a veteran player with a big salary and a contract that looks like it could be on the chopping block?
Well, some of us get fired, other of us get extensions, and and we go from there. But it's difficult because you never know. And you have the exit meetings after a season, and they say, you're a big part of this program. We'll see you next year. Here's the things we want you to work on. The next thing you know, it's like, oh, hey, by the way, we're going in a different direction. You're out. And so it is a little and you don't. It's always an older player. I think younger players don't really notice it. This time I know I didn't, and I probably didn't up until I was let go. But it's one of those things. You've seen it happen enough, and I think that's why the older guys notice it more. You've seen it happen enough. The business side. And the one comforting thing, if you can play, and they're just cutting you because you have a high salary, you always kind of assume you'll find a spot somewhere. And so as long as you keep putting out good tape, you'll land somewhere. And it's tough, especially for guys that have families.
It certainly is. You were lucky, though. I mean, one franchise and completed the run like that and got to see that come and go. And because you didn't have to deal with it, I mean, do agents get an idea ahead of time? Do players have a thought, or do they just know I'm getting paid a strange number and I know it's not jiving with what their plans are? So you just kind of avoid the guy that's going to call you into the office? What do? Or you just go to work like, well, here we go. Let's finish this.
No, you can't avoid them because they called me when I was in Disney. So there's no avoiding
bastards.
No avoiding no avoiding the axe. No, you always want to, like, I know when I signed my extension, there was always a possibility that, like, the last 3 years were definitely backloaded years, and I was like, at some point they're going to come for a restructure, or they're going to come cut me. So I knew it had to happen at some point. But as long as you take that realistic approach, I think a lot of guys don't and have this kind of, fairy tale idea like, oh, it's my contract. They're going to pay me what they said they were going to pay me. And, you find out the hard way that doesn't happen. But then at the same time, we get to the negative of guys having to, that get cut or, cap casualties. We're about to hit free agency and the spending spree that's about to happen. Where money is flying around like crazy, and this whole quarterback carousel, where's guys going to end up? It's going to be a wild offseason again.
Let's talk about the offseason and how it might affect your neck of the woods. Play Joe Douglas. You got a quarterback you might like, you might not like. Lots of guys are calling you for all those draft picks. You want to keep what you got? You want a Deshaun Watson? What do you want to be?
Well, my concern with Deshaun Watson, and I think he's a fantastic quarterback, and it would be awesome to have him here in New York, is that we'd have to give up too much to get him. I think when you look at it, this team has so many holes that if you spend every draft pick to try to go get Deshaun Watson, which is a known commodity, so you're not giving up a ton of stuff to move up in the draft to pick somebody where you might not know. This guy has proven that he can play in the NFL, but I just don't know if you can then piecemeal a roster around him where he can still perform at the high level. So then you get left with, do you stick with Sam or do you move to, a quarterback coming out of college? And I think that's where I think Joe Douglas has a little bit better of an idea what he wants to do, because he was able to be with Sam for the past year. Where if it was a new GM coming in who didn't have experience with Sam, might be quicker to pull the trigger on drafting a guy, or might be quick to say, hey, let's see what we have in him, and then we'll draft a guy the next year. So I'm real comfortable with where JD is, and I also am not envious of being in his shoes.
Interesting thoughts on Deshaun Watson, because he is a known commodity, but you're right, it would cost a lot. The other side, since we're talking quarterbacks and we're down here in Texas, when you see a situation going on like what the Cowboys have right now with Dak Prescott, from a player mentality, you see a guy about to get his second tag. He's the franchise quarterback, yet they can't come to an agreement. I'm not sure if it's Jerry. They did offer him $110 million guaranteed that apparently he turned down because the years seem to be the biggest issue. But in that locker room, is the fact that Dak does not have a long-term contract, is that an issue amongst the rest of the guys?
Well, yes and no. I think, a lot of times players are very pro-player, where they just want guys to get paid, and just as everyone wants to be paid themselves. The struggle you get into is, they've been doing this contract dance for so long, you don't know what's being leaked is right. And so at least in the locker room, Dak might have been talking with a couple of friends, players, saying like, hey, listen, they offered $110 million, that's what's out in the media, but really it was only, $80 million. And it was, right. And we say only $80 million, and we're like, well, of course, it's only $80 million.
Only 80, man.
Please, that would be absurd. So, and that's, like, usually contract negotiations take like 6 months. End of the season, right around this time in February, March, that's where people are like, all right, I want a new contract. And then things get figured out by August. The fact that this has been going on for almost 2 years now, I think is causing a strain in the locker room. But I don't know if it's going to be a strain from the players blaming Dak or the players blaming the team.
Is it possible that it's all on the agent? Like, how much do most players have involvement in the conversations and in the negotiations, or most players, hey, my agent's handling all that? Because we hear that a lot from players. How true is that? How much of this is just Todd France telling Dak, not yet, not yet, not yet, and Dak trusting in his guy?
Yeah, it's a real possibility. I was fortunate. I had fantastic agents when I was in the NFL. They were very straightforward with me and laid everything out and said, here's what they gave, here's what we think we can do, here's what we think you should do, and you tell us what you want to do. And so, I was able to look at it and say, all right, I'm going to go with it. Like, I think one of my agents was kind of against me signing my extension because I signed it in the uncapped year. So they had to do a lot of wiggle work with some of the accounting and everything. He's like, if you wait, 3 more months, get through the season, like, your leverage is going to be a lot higher. You're going to have all these options, and it's going to be, we'll be back in a cap system, so we'll be able to really know what to do. And so I kind of went against his advice, obviously, and signed it. But it was just, it's tough. You got to make those decisions for yourself. But if the agent wants to say, hey, I have the highest paid quarterback. And that, could be a driving factor in this. And, I don't know that. Nobody knows that. But to be an agent who's going to go get other players, to be able to say, yeah, I negotiated the biggest contract for a quarterback ever, would be a nice little feather in the old cap. So it very well could be.
The Steinberg rule. Just got to be that. He is Nick Mangold. 74 barbecue sauce is what we're – Jason, go to their website. I'm looking at a fantastic beer can chicken recipe right here. You can order it online, get it down here, cook it the right way. One more question about negotiations. Did you treat negotiations like your portfolio, like I'm not going to look at it or talk about it until, I get a call from my agent? Or did you want to know every day if there'd been any movement?
No, I didn't want to know every day if there had been movement. And that's kind of where it was an odd situation for myself because the Jets, the season before said, hey, we want to do something, this offseason, keep Nick around for a long time. And so we were like, all right, great. So we get in the offseason, like, all right, let's talk about this extension. We're in the offseason program at that point. And that's when, we were going into the uncapped year, and so it was kind of one of those things like, well, we can't do anything because we don't have, any guidance of what we can do. I was like, well, you can just do whatever you want. I mean, like, you're your own franchise. You just give me the money and, done. Problem solved. And so that didn't go well. So I actually went into training camp thinking that was going to be I was done and that I was done negotiating. I'm not going to worry about contract stuff while I'm playing. I'm focused on the football side of it, and we'll get to it afterwards. And so it was in the kind of the back of my mind until and I thank Revis for this because he was in the midst of his holdout at the time. And I think they needed some goodwill And all of a sudden, my agent called and was like, "Yeah, they called and they're ready to negotiate, and it looks like we're pretty close." And I think we got it done in maybe 2 days. It was a quick hitter, so I think they wanted to look good against Rivas, and it worked out great.
Well, it kind of sounds like what the Cowboys did last year with Jalen Smith. You know,
Let's
out of the blue, let's give him a big
that.
deal. We can't get that one done. Let's get this one done.
Bam,
All
love
equally
it.
as happy. Hey, go get some barbecue sauce. It's turning spring. It's time to start cooking. Beer can chicken on my menu. 74 barbecue sauce. You can go check it out online. 74, that's spelled out, bbq.com. Nick Mangold, future Hall of Famer, longtime New York Jet. Hey, and a good guy. Thanks for stopping by, man. It's always good to catch up with an old friend.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. And hopefully we'll get together this Super Bowl. Hopefully everything's back to normal, and we'll have
See
a
you in
grand
LA.
old time again.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Nick Mangold, right here on ESPN San Antonio.